Hey everybody, and welcome to Behind the Score Sports 30 Teams in 30 Days segment. As we get inch closer and closer to the start of the MLB season on April the 1st, we only have 8 teams left to go through. We got the Mets today. And then after that, we've only got one more week to go before we get to the end of this segment and be just mere hours away from opening day. Anyways, like I said, we'll be talking about the New York Mets today. A lot of people are excited about this team. They've gone and added some pieces and were really challenging for free agents this offseason. So let's jump into it. Coming up for the possible 2021 lineup for this team. Leading off, I have Brandon Nimmo. He's a left-handed batter, 332 with a 395 on base for his career. This guy can hit, the guy can get on base. As you notice, that's been a trend through a lot of my episodes. Got guys that can hit and get on base at the top of the lineup, score and score early. A lot of these lineups got tremendous speed, hitting ability, on base, and power at the top of the lineup. There's not too many teams that will struggle to get runs early. When it comes to pitching, some other teams are weaker than others, but when it comes to the top of the lineups, there's a lot of pretty good matchups there. Next would be Pete Alonso. He's a right-hander, bats right with 283 and a 320 on base. He definitely is going to do well at the top of that lineup. A lot of people would be questioning me right now, well, where's Francisco Lindor? Well, I've actually got him in a different spot in the lineup, but he is in the top half, so he will be coming up in a little bit, but I have Pete Alonso there. And Brandon Nimmo being a left, as you notice, a lot of these lineups, except for the last one where I had 3 left-handers, I like splitting the left and righties up. Causes some real problems for some pitchers when you're throwing in righties and lefties. Some specialize more than others, especially when you get to the bullpens. So having a little bit of variety there definitely can help out a team. Jeff O'Neill batting in third. Left-hander, 340 with a 376 on base. Again, this guy can hit, get on base. He does hit home runs. I do believe I had him in my fantasy pool last year for a little while. He performed very well there. I was very impressed with that, so definitely see him having a good season. In the cleanup spot, we have J.D. Davis, righty, 349 with a 390. This guy does have power, on base, hits well, which is definitely a great thing for a manager. That's what he loves to see. I also had J.D. Davis last year, picked him up, and he'd performed pretty well for me as well, so I definitely see him having another good season. And getting to the next one, what you've all been waiting for is Francisco Lindor. Shortstop, switch hitter, batting 292 with a 326. That one with the 292 would definitely be the reason why I've got him a little bit down farther. I know he's a great guy. He's got some speed. He gets on base and can hit. But there was definitely some guys that with their career numbers have a little bit higher average than he does. I realize he's more of a veteran than the other guys I've talked about so far, but I definitely see him suiting well in that fifth spot. Next will be the catcher, James McCann, 288 with a 341. Another guy that joined this team this year. And so he's definitely hits well when you look at the team and the numbers. So I think he would definitely do well there in the sixth spot. Next will be Michael Conforto, batting left, 254 with a 306. His average and on base is a little bit down from the rest of the lineup here, so that's why you see him near the bottom of the lineup. And also it being a lefty there, it helps out with a couple of right-handers we've had. Next will be Dominic Smith, batting right, 224 of the 288. I think that's pretty explanatory why I have him in the bottom spot above the pitcher. His numbers are definitely lower than everybody else, but I definitely see him starting in left field. And then, of course, the number one guy on the team, Jacob deGrom, batting ninth as the ace and starter for this team to start the season. Utility guys, they have Kevin Pillar. As we all know, he's a free swinger. He swings at a little bit more than he'd like to at the plate, but nobody can debate his defensive skills, especially in center field. They call him the Superman for a reason. So hopefully he could get his pack going there and become a average back contributor, but way above average defensively there. Jonathan VR, as you know, he was a part of the Blue Jays at the end of last season. He has made his way over to the Mets. Louis Guillorme and Jose Martinez. So we go to the pitching rotation. Of course, the ace of the team. This guy needs no introduction. We all know how great he is. I see him having another great season, but starter and a star of the team with the pitching will be Jacob deGrom starting off. Most of the time you would hear Syndergaard coming in as number two. Unfortunately, he's out with injury, so he will not be making the rotation right away. He might be back later in the season, maybe even the second half. So we'll have to see what happens there. But starting out, I don't have him in the top five. So next I'd have Marcus Stroman, another former Blue Jay. See how well he does there. But I think from pitching perspective, he would definitely be the best one suited there. Next would be Carlos Carrasco. Then the one after that would be Taijuan Walker. I think with Carlos Carrasco and Taijuan Walker, you could almost interchange them. I do have Carrasco in 3 and Walker in 4, but I think you definitely could see some moving around throughout the season, especially going from a short one to a full season. So there's definitely going to be some moving around there. Depending on how Marcus Stroman's season goes, he could also be thrown in that mix to be having moving around. David Peterson, I have in 5th. And then I put a 6th spot with Syndergaard, but like I said, that probably won't be till middle, maybe a little bit past the middle of the season before we hear much there. But hopefully he can make a return. If he does, this is going to be one strong pitching rotation, especially when you slot him number 2. So you'd have deGrom, Syndergaard, Stroman, Walker, and Carrasco. Um, so with this team with power and being able to get on base and get some runs, and then you throw in this pitching rotation, I do see them finishing well in the second half, into the later part of the season. But I do see them finishing third. I don't think Syndergaard's going to be back in enough time to help this team get above the Nationals, but anything can happen. He could come back earlier, so. But right now, I do have the Mets finishing in third. Other storylines with the Mets, as most of you heard, probably as sports fans, if you've been watching baseball news, the GM was fired for inappropriate text messages sent to some reporters. One thing with Springer going to the Blue Jays, I kind of had the thought that Springer maybe had turned down the 120 to 125 million to go to the Mets and took the offer for 150 over 6 years from the Blue Jays because of the GM firing. And that left that front office in a bad spot at a bad time. And we all know Springer was coming away from controversy and scandals in Houston, trying to get away from that kind of thing. So that could have been something that turned him off and eventually led him to signing with the Blue Jays there. So if that was the case, that's lucky for Blue Jays. Really worked out there. Mets and Nationals to fight for second division. I do think the Mets will be close. Right now, I do have the Nationals edging out the Mets, though. But I think Syndergaard's going to be a big key spot when it comes to where the Mets are going to place there. How soon he can get back and what kind of a impact he can put on the rotation. This team definitely has a chance to get that second spot, but that'll all depend on what happens there. Noah Syndergaard, like I said, is to return halfway through the season. Best case scenario. So we could see him around the normal All-Star break, maybe too, somewhere in there. Definitely be into July, possibly even beginning of August. So have to wait and see what happens. Starting rotation skills similar to the Nationals as well. Nationals have top four with veterans there. You add in Syndergaard with DeGrom, Taijuan Walker, Carrasco, and Stroman, and you definitely have a tough rotation there as well. So these teams are fairly evenly stacked when you compare the two. But like I said, it'll all come down to what happens halfway through the season and how that all plays out. I just think, like I was saying, I just think the rotation at the beginning is just a little bit lighter than what the Nationals have, so that's why I had that decision right now. To round out this episode, we'll go over the players to watch like we always do. Ronnie Mauricio, shortstop, number 1 in the organization. Francisco Alvarez, catcher, number 2. Brett Beatty, third base, number 3. Matthew Allen is a right-handed pitcher, number 4. Pete Crow Armstrong, outfielder, number 5. And those will be your guys to watch. I know spring training's coming to the end. There's going to be a lot of guys coming and going now. especially going for the taxi squad and that kind of stuff for being ready for the team. They're actually going to have AAA this year, so um, some guys will definitely get some great starts down there. But those are some 5 key guys to watch over the season. If there's injuries, trade deadline, as this team continues to grow with their new ownership towards a championship and really chiseling out the foundation in front of this team that they already have and building on that and putting people where they need to be. So I'd like to thank you again for watching. And just remember, it's not always what happens in the game. There's a lot that can be talked about and a lot that happens behind the score. Thanks for watching.